This was a post asking about Prime Chris Paul versus Prime D Rose, and the response is just straight up propaganda. I seem to have accidentally cropped out the likes and retweets. I'll see if I can find the original version, but I felt like I was missing something because this response had thousands of both. And it went something like, D Rose was walking the king, referring to LeBron James, out of the playoffs with ease before a knee injury, CP3 a choke artist. That's just wrong. It's factually wrong, actually. Whatever the reasons, D Rose is actually 0-3 against LeBron James, losing to him in 2010, 2011, and 2015. The only one of those he even got close to quote-unquote walking LeBron out of the playoffs in was 2015, in a series that I do think Chicago probably should have ended up winning, given all these circumstances and injuries and players missing, and a very infamous timeout mishap. But I'm more just baffled here that this tweet got rave reviews. Were they bots? Spiritual Soul might be onto something. On a tweet comparing basketball and baseball, by a mile. Baseball, you have to have talent and a good handle of the fundamentals. In basketball, you're a first-round pick if you're 7 feet tall. Brought to you by I Find Out Who Won the NBA Championship on the Morning News Twitter. I don't know much about baseball. I'm not getting into that comparison. I don't care about baseball. But the last time this dude paid any attention to hoops, you could tell Shaquille O'Neal was in his prime. Buddy probably thinks Boban Marjanovic is the league's premier player. Man, New Balance cookout Twitter is wildin' these days. Warriors without KD were nothing special, man. Only reason they won anything is because Kyrie and Love got hurt, and it still took them 6 games. They were built for regular season dominance, but not for winning championships. Wow. A team that was originally on nobody's radar that nearly won 70 games was nothing special. A team that then went on to break numerous records, win 73 games, and come within like 2 shots of being repeat champions was not built to win championships. A team that, by losing, supposedly went on to make a certain player the GOAT was nothing special. A team that would go on to be accused of ruining all competition and, by extension, the league, by adding Kevin Durant, was nothing special. The team that, without even being fully healthy, came back 3-1 and beat Kevin Durant's team, which, by some accounts, was the best team in that year's playoffs, was nothing special. Well, this take is certainly special. NBA Twitter routinely contradicts itself. It's quite amazing. The Last Dance is reaching at this point. Yes, MJ was popular in the 90s, but they're overly magnifying it. People knew of him, but he wasn't exactly a household name. If we're using today's superstar standards, he isn't close to LeBron. Examples, endorsements, celeb connections, etc. Let's rewind back to the household name. There was a scene in The Last Dance where the arena was packed with the household names of the 90s there to watch MJ, who, by this take, was not a household name. This was a guy who a shoe company named Nike that was not that big yet quite literally bet the whole house on to sign. Hadn't played a game of basketball yet, hadn't proved that he could be anything in the league, and he'd go on to help prop that company up so that it could support stars today like LeBron, like KD. In an era that did not even have social media, he was part of spearheading a team that went on to make basketball a global game. Had grown men asking him for his autograph and pictures before the game. Grown men that were in different parts of the globe. Had to catch this man on TV or not at all. Jordan is the star that literally inspired almost all of our stars today. Are we really having a conversation about his celebrity status? And while we're on that note, because I did see that becoming a popular thing where they were saying, oh, he couldn't even handle the media pressure without social media, how would he have fared today? And it is important to remember that just because we don't publicly see players struggling with all of the media scrutiny, not everybody is like KD lashing out. Adam Silver also did have a piece about that not even that long ago with Bill Simmons talking about the effects of social media on today's teams and players. Just because we don't hear all these players' thoughts and they're not all freaking out for us to see, it doesn't mean that they're just not at all fazed by it. But there's also a thing where a lot of players have grown up in the social media era, especially as time is going on. So we're seeing a lot of players who grow up with millions of Instagram followers, coverage from the AAU, all of that. So by the time they're in the league, it's not some brand new turf. But yeah, I gotta give this one credit. People knew of him, but he wasn't exactly a household name. He went on to actually argue it, otherwise I would have thought it was a troll. Magnificent work on finding a new angle on Mike, but it's wrong. Oh god, it's so wrong. People are still in line for the man's shoes today. What kind of effect do you think he had to have around like 30 years ago for that to even be possible? There was a long thread with these two arguing about Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard, and it came to a head where this says, question mark, KD hasn't won a chip without Steph. 19 Kawhi is way better than any KD year. Oh my goodness, we are already doing this. Last year during the NBA Finals, I put out a tweet establishing some something, so when revisionist history would come back around, we could know how we as a collective felt in the moment. However, that was in reference to talking about the Raptors not being a super team. Apparently, the pendulum swung hard in the other way in that there is no version of KD that touches 19 Kawhi. If we're talking about it as a collective, first of all, 19 Kawhi was good during the regular season, but it wasn't some all-time shit until the playoffs, where it definitely does count. But this just says 19 Kawhi, so I'm assuming it means 19 Kawhi. So there was a lot of load management there, and off the top of my head, I would take Kevin Durant's 2014 season. That was a year where he played mostly without Westbrook and thus without a reliable second option to take pressure off of him, and still efficiently put up some of his best career numbers. Also, I get the whole respect factor about how much pressure Kevin Durant didn't have when he went to Golden State, specifically in the earlier years around like 2017, when they were still playing collectively as a team. That was like the best team basketball they probably played. But that was also Kevin Durant maximized, as in he's not completely stressed out with an offensive load, and he also got to put some energy towards defense. And I'm taking Kevin Durant maximized over a lot of players maximized. Now, even if you want to have an argument about Kawhi Leonard's playoff run, because absolutely that is one of the greatest playoff runs I've ever seen, probably top 3, it's still not way better than any version of KD. But this is also why in 2016 he really should have went to a team like the Clippers or Celtics, Spurs, a team where he could have had a Kawhi-like run where he had help, but he was the clear number 1. But I guess that's what the potential Brooklyn run is for. Is D Wade on Pippen's level? Capital no. And if you think he is, you are just being a capital hater. By the way, the D Wade that did play with LeBron, he was a shell of himself. But go on. Oh, and by the way, Rodman was the greatest rebounding power forward ever, also Hall of Fame. Name one person on Rodman's level. One day the Braun defense force is going to realize you don't have to tear down his teammates to prop him up. It's really not necessary, especially when we have the facts, we have the numbers, we have first-hand accounts. Like point A, the only time I would refer to Dwyane Wade as a shell of himself would be 2014. That's when it got pretty clear that the Wade that LeBron came to Miami to join, it wasn't going to happen anymore. 2011, he was the best player on the finals team. 2012 and 2013, he played significant roles in both of those championships. There's no way in hell those happened without him. And when I think of shell of himself, I think of like Shaquille O'Neal in Cleveland, Shaquille O'Neal in Phoenix, Paul Pierce and KG in Brooklyn, Jason Kidd in New York. Hell, Chris Paul right now is not even a shell of him for himself on the Thunder. He's still providing. When you talk about shell of himself, you're calling a guy washed. Dwyane Wade, even up to 2014, it was really in the finals where we just looked at him and said washed. Like, you know what? We're gonna do an impromptu here. I did not have this one marked down, but it deserves to be here. Kendrick Perkins is damn near on a payroll for this stuff now, but here goes another NBA alum on the spin force. Exactly, bro. MJ came back with house money. LBJ came back to Cleveland broke, taking on two guys that had never won in Kyrie and Kevin Love, and an organization that had the worst record in the league every year after he left. The Bulls had the same team. I applaud MJ for what he did, but LBJ has more. Okay, yeah, Cleveland is absolutely shit in management, no argument there. No doubt LeBron is the best thing that ever happened to them, but the front part, LBJ came back broke. What? The only reason Braun even considered going back to Cleveland is because they had one of the better offensive guards sitting there, and a pick that they could trade, which they did trade, for what was then one of the best power forwards in the league. He didn't come back broke. Coming back broke would be like, I left when they had Varejao and Antoine Jameson, and I came back and they had Varejao and Antoine Jameson. That would be broke. Broke is not going to a team where we're discussing his second big three. That was the conversation back then. This is what gets so frustrating, is watching people put spins on things that you actually lived through, media talk that you actually followed. The talk was Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh, that big three, then Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. That's the new big three. One was clearly better than the other. I even feared the Heat more. And even if you want to argue about big three or their playoff experience, whatever, that's not broke. And there's no reason to do this either. This isn't necessary. I was on this post of a montage of Baron Davis dunks. He was just catching bodies for like a straight minute. And why is everyone on Twitter so damn miserable? This dude comes left field and I'll show him play defense for a minute. I never understand these comments. The post I was on wasn't even trying to prove anything. It wasn't calling Baron Davis a premier player or an MVP candidate. It was just a montage. I see this all the time. It's just a montage and they're like, okay, what about this? What do y'all be so damn miserable about? Oh, let's end with NBA Facebook. I gotta dive into these waters more often. On a redraft, Steph Curry went #1 again. I think they've done this redraft like a million different times, but nonetheless, sorry. Harden is #1. How many All-Stars has Harden ever played with as a Rocket? Only Dwight Howard made an All-Star team in 2014 as a Rocket with Harden. And this season, Russ hasn't finished yet. Curry got to play with all these Hall of Famers in their primes. Harden has more win shares than all of them. Now see, the problem is this ignores the fact that Steph Curry has been the catalyst for the Warriors' success at pretty much every turn. Hell, even when they failed or got close to failing, it had to do with him playing poorly. Not that he hasn't had great teammates, just that his play has really enabled the Warriors to do almost everything offensively that they've done to change basketball in the last 5 or so years. And then there's the matter of Curry and Harden head to head. See, you have people who think the Warriors were not actually that special in 2015 and that they weren't supposed to win, yet they still got rid of the Rockets rather simply. Curry didn't even really play in the first round of 2016, yet Harden did not help the Rockets get any closer that year, which again, yes, would be a testament to how good that Warriors team really was. They were definitely special. But then you get into moments where it looked like the Rockets had the upper hand, namely last year, in 2019 when KD was out, and the Warriors were left with a core that was really built to play with KD on that team, because remember, they got rid of a lot of pieces to allow him to come there. That definitely gave the Rockets some leeway, and it was Curry that came up big in that moment, not Harden. As a matter of fact, the easier thing would have been for the Warriors to just throw in the towel in that second round. They were having plenty of chemistry issues. The Rockets were supposed to have won in 2018 if there weren't injuries to them, and so there's been moments for the Rockets to take advantage of before KD and after KD that they didn't. Harden is amazing, don't get me wrong, but he's proven nothing in these moments with Curry just yet that would have him go first in a redraft over him. And discounting Curry's success over this decade as he had a lot of great teammates, it just doesn't make sense when part of the reason that system is so great is because of his gravity. I've got to visit NBA Facebook more often. The takes are probably spicier there, and different. NBA Twitter stay arguing about the same 5 things. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, comment, and sub. Be sure to send me takes in my DMs. Hashtag NBA Twitter police. I do look through those to see if there are any takes that are deserving to be here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.